What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of F1 Fantasy Pole Position. It is Monday, September 1st. My name is Ewan, and much like my shirt in this green screen, my yellow Ferrari Monza shirt, my F1 Fantasy 2025 hopes are fading. It was a bit of a disaster class in Zandvoort yesterday. I'm sure if you guys were following me on X, you kind of saw my emotions. If you want a full breakdown of how I was reacting to what happened at the Netherlands Grand Prix, stick around until the end of the episode. The timestamps will be in the description below. But because it is a doubleheader, I want to get into my Monza Grand Prix team selection. But if you are liking what you're seeing in the F1 Fantasy Paddock F1 Fantasy Pole Position Garage, there we go. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It helps me out a lot. We are very close to 3,600 subscribers, so help me get there if you can. I will be live 3 times this week, so hopefully you guys can join me there. And yeah, we're just going to get right into it with my Monza Grand Prix team selection. As always, we'll start off with a little bit of a preview here. As you can see, my shirt is not as fading as bad on this screen, but yes, I feel like I'm kind of like, what's that, Coco movie where you're fading if you don't remember your past and stuff like that. Maybe I'm getting my Disney movies mixed up, but Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, 11 corners, 53 laps, 2 DRS zones. Over the last 3 seasons, it's been tied 15th with the Hungaroring for overtakes, which I thought was a little surprising. 7 DNFs in total, 2.3 per race, and then 2024, it was Leclerc, Piastri, and Norris that took the podium. Is that going to happen again this year? I don't know. Leclerc made a masterful one-stop strategy work, and it was fantastic for the Monegasque driver, and the hometown team went wild as Ferrari won Monza once again. Piastri kind of got Norris early, but yeah, they McLaren 2-stopped, and Leclerc made the 1-stop work. Going over to the Pirelli preview here. Last year it was the C3, the C4, the C5, and this year is also the C3, the C4, and the C5. So no changes here. One of the few tracks where we're not getting a lot of changes on, like I said in the last team selection episode, Pirelli has told us each of the tires for the final 10 races of the season, now the final 9 races of the season, and you can see it on the screen here in Azerbaijan, Austin, Mexico City, Brazil. We're all going to have some kind of different tire compounds, skipping a compound here and there for the final races. So make sure that you are ahead of the game, which you will be if you are watching this YouTube channel right here. I will make sure to inform you whenever something like that is happening. And yeah, I guess you can see that my brain is a little bit frazzled because yesterday was pretty rough. I know a lot of you also had a pretty bad Sunday, so let me know in the comments below what your kind of sob story was. I know you guys probably know mine, but like I said, we will get into it later on. Weather forecast is it's going to be hot. It's going to be sunny. Those Fahrenheit temperatures are not correct. Apologies for that. But 29 degrees Celsius on Friday, 28 degrees Celsius on Saturday, and 28 degrees Celsius on Sunday. It's getting increasingly more likely to rain throughout the week, but still less than 25% chance by the time we get to Sunday. 28 degrees on Sunday, increasing cloudiness, 23% chance of precipitation, real feel 32. So it will be hot, hot, hot in Monza, just outside of Milan. So if you are going there, kind of pack up on some sunscreen. That will be advisable. As someone that got burned in Switzerland this weekend, I would highly advise you wearing some of that SPF stuff. Alrighty, points forecast here. The budget building is full send right now. I mean, we are going quite well, and I hope this works, but let's see. I'm going to see if this works here. This is a red flag because this is where the loosey-goosey math starts. So hopefully this all goes quite well here. But on the screen, I've got Hadjar, Bortoleto, Alonso, Stroll, Albon, Lawson, and Franco Colapinto. These are all the drivers that need less than 10 points to get a max price rise at the Italian Grand Prix this weekend. So on the screen here, I've got their average points per race for either the last 2 or the last 3 races, the Monza Grand Prix price rise points needed, and then if they reach their average points per race over the last 2 or the last 3, what will they need in Baku to also get a max rise? Like I said, red flag, loosey-goosey math at its finest here. So Hadjar, phenomenal performance, 33 points out of nowhere. So he'll need negative 16 in Monza for a max rise. If he gets the 10 points that he has averaged over the last 10 races, he will just need negative 20 again to go up again a max price rise in Baku. So Hadjar is going to be very, very sought after in F1 Fantasy this weekend. I would highly advise you going after him. Bortoleto, despite a little bit of a down Sunday, he's still got a price rise in the negatives for Monza this week. So if he gets -5 points, he will go up 0.6 million. He's averaging 10.3 points over the last 3 races. So if he gets 10 points at Monza, he will need 11 points in Baku for a max price rise. Alonso here, 12.3 points per race over the last 3. He keeps getting it done despite the price rises going up and up. He needs 0 points for a max price rise in Monza. If he scores the 12.3 that he's averaged over the last 3 races, he will need 7 points in Baku. Stroll, 14 points or 14.3 points per race, 3 points for a max price rise in Monza. That will result in a 5 points for a max rise in Baku. Albon here, outstanding race at Zandvoort. I kind of had written him off. He was a little bit of an option, but I was more on the Carlos Sainz train, and I wasn't really even on that train that much, so I'm not going to try to pat myself on the back here, but I thought 15 points would be too much for Albon. He had a great weekend. He's now averaging 17.7 points per race over the last 3 races. He needs 4 points for a max rise and is in my thoughts quite heavily for the Italian Grand Prix. If he gets another 17 points at Monza, he will need 1 point for a great price rise in Baku. Liam Lawson here, also kind of disappointing, but because of the chaos, he managed to get that 0.6 rise. He needs 9 points in Monza for a great price rise. He's averaging 6 points over the last 3 races, so could be a little bit out of his reach there for the max price rise, and that would result in him needing 9 points for a good price rise and 13 points for a great price rise at Baku, the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. And Colapinto here, it's not spectacular, but he is getting it done. We need a bottom of the barrel asset. He's the only one right now at 4.5 million. He's averaged 3.5 points per race over the last 2 races here. He needs 10 points for a great price rise in Monza. If he got that 3.5 points in Monza, he would need 3 points for a great price rise in Baku. That's about the loosest of the goosey math that I can kind of comprehend right now. There are some other options that are interesting, like Esteban Ocon, Ollie Behrman's in with a shout a little bit as well, but these are the main 7 drivers that we will be focusing on in our transfer targets, I reckon, if we're flipping and flopping between the back markers. I mean, Hadjar coming out of nowhere, it's almost like it's not the best case scenario, because I mean, the best case scenario would have him been scoring 1 less than he needed for a to go down the max. But the fact that he had such a huge day in Zandvoort, 33 points, and now he just needs not a DNF at Monza for a max price rise, even though he's 5.7 million, a lot of us will have gotten that 1.2 million from Liam Lawson, from Gabriel Bortoleto. So hopefully we have enough money to kind of catch up to Hadjar and bring him into our squads here right now. But yes, that is the points forecast. I know you guys like this, so hopefully the loosey-goosey math is loosey-gooseying enough for y'all right now. And Cambio Corsia, which is my attempt at translating switching lanes into Italian. So if you are an Italian native speaker or you know Italian, I did not mean to offend you. This is just a very poor Google translation, so hopefully there's not something awful on the screen right now. But it's got the 4A heavy, the 4A regular lineups, my team from Zandvoort, and my team that I'm thinking about for Monza right now. So the 4A heavy lineup: McLaren, Ferrari, Piastri, Russell, Bortoleto, Gasly, Colapinto. That's 128.5 million. If you go with the weighted average on F1 Fantasy Tools, that's predicted to score 220 points at Monza and then go up 0.9 million. If we drop down to the 4A regular lineup, which is McLaren, Mercedes, Piastri, Russell, Bortoleto, Gasly, Colapinto, I put Bortoleto in these lineups instead of Lawson because he is more likely to rise, so I reckon that more people will have him in their teams. 124.1 million, 215.7 points, so about 4 points less than the 4A heavy lineup, but it will go up 0.4 million more according to the simulations right now. And then my team for the Netherlands was McLaren, Ferrari. Let's just take a pause for a moment for all of us Ferrari constructor believers. Piastri, Stroll, Alonso, Bortoleto, and Lawson. That's 120.2 million right now. Scored 214.4 points according to the weighted average on F1FantasyTools.com, and that would go up 2.1 million. So if you're just comparing my team from Zandvoort compared to the team from 4A regular team for Monza, I think the 0.8 million would be enough for me to go up there for 1.3 points in predicted points according to the average, the weighted average on F1 Fantasy Tools. But my team for Italy that I'm thinking about right now, McLaren, Ferrari, Piastri, Stroll, Alonso, Albon, Hadjar, that's 127.2 million. That scores 224.7 points. And that's almost 5 points more than the 4A heavy lineup, and it goes up 2.9 million, which is 2 million more than the 4A heavy lineup. So I have been on this channel almost religiously touting like 4A, 4A, 4A heavy, 4A heavy, 4A heavy. And then when I woke up this morning, F1 Fantasy had refreshed, checked my phone, I was putting my team together, and I was like, that's not good. That's not what I wanted. And now I am in a bit of a pickle. And I have 3 free transfers. I stuck to my guns, like I was touting on the morning deadline stream on the final thoughts and stuff. Hopefully you guys were checking that out. You wouldn't have missed them if you were liking the videos and subscribing to the YouTube channel. So I will tout that once again. But yeah, my thoughts are kind of all over the place for Italy. So why don't we just get right into it? So here we are, the T1 squad that is now outside the top 10K, which is not as bad as I thought it would be after what happened yesterday. But 9 million in the bank with Piastri, Alonso, Stroll, Borletto, Lawson, McLaren, and Ferrari in the squad. 3 free transfers because I did not go all in on Aston Martin for the Dutch Grand Prix, which is good and bad, I guess. We'll figure it out as the week goes along. So budget builder over here is just what it is on F1 Fantasy Tools right now. This is my custom budget builder. So this is where I've done my loosey-goosey math, and this is where all the stuff comes into play. As you can see here, like Albon will be a pretty good long-term hold if I bring him in, and that is interesting to me. So I can just go Lawson straight to Albon, and I'll keep like I'll have 3 of the 4 most likely to rise in F1 Fantasy this week, but it feels like Hadjar is a free space. And if we look at this here, like if Bortoletto goes, he's likely not going to be a great long-term hold. So there's a slight chance I get off of Bortoletto here and bring in Isaac Hadjar. That feels a little bit like a sideways move, but if I'm chasing this kind of 4A, it's almost like a 4A extra heavy lineup now, because it's like there's so many variations that you can go with. But the main point, and there's been a lot of people in my streams and my mentions and stuff like that being like, I have 130 million. They've had 130 or 125, 130 million for like 2, 3, 4, 5 races already. They've been way ahead of my team in budget. And I think the 129.2 million is a little bit of an acceptable budget range right now. But they've been in this range for a while, and like no one is raising their hand and giving me the advantage that I need to kind of take advantage of having this big a budget and making a gap on the field, because Ferrari is not getting it done. Mercedes is up and down. Red Bull is not reliable. I mean, McLaren had a disaster yesterday as well, as did Ferrari. No one had bigger disaster than Ferrari. So there are kind of options where you can go, like there might be people that just stick on Aston Martin, which is not the worst thing in the world. If we go over here, -53, -43 for a great price rise here. Ferrari needs 74 for a great price rise. So that is a little bit tricky. Mercedes here as well. It's going to be hot, which makes me feel like Mercedes could be a little bit worse than we're anticipating here. But yes, like if I go down to Aston Martin, one, it's almost weird because I'd be like a week too late to go down this route. Like, you know what I mean? Like here we are, and I'm going to this triple Aston Martin, triple McLaren lineup that a lot of people have. It is only 2 free transfers to get there, which is quite nice. I mean, I could bring in Hadjar as well. How far could I go up here? Yeah, I could go to Hadjar. I guess there's a world where it might be too expensive to get Albon. Yeah, I'd have to go Albon with probably Gasly or Colapinto, which I don't love there, and then I'm taking a hit, which is totally unnecessary with the 3 free transfers I have right now. But if I refresh the page, like go back here, so Lawson is on the chopping block for me. I just don't think he's a great long-term hold. If I bring in Mercedes, now we're getting into some kind of interesting areas of lineups and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know if I can go Russell. Yeah, I can't go all the way up to Russell. I guess I could go Stroll to Russell, and that would maybe give me enough money to keep Alonso in here along with a cheaper option. 6.3 million, that would get me to Hadjar. This isn't too bad of a lineup. This is kind of like a almost like semi my team for Italy plus the 4A regular, because you've got McLaren, Mercedes, Piastri, Russell, but then you've got 3 really good tier B drivers here with Alonso, Bortoleto, and Hadjar that are all likely to rise. Bortoleto is a little bit sketchy for the long term, but I will have 2 free transfers when we go to Baku if I used all 3 transfers here to kind of go from Bortoleto to wherever I kind of need to go to as well. So my team selection thoughts are unfortunately a little bit jumbled right now, just because yesterday was madness. But I will have a live stream on Thursday, final thoughts Friday, a deadline stream on Saturday, and a cool down room race review on Sunday. So there will be plenty of time for me to flesh these out and talk about these lineups with you guys. I kind of like this lineup if Mercedes put their hand up, but I don't love it either. Ferrari, despite their flaws, they usually bring it when it comes to Monza. So, and Williams is usually pretty good here. So like an Albon with Ferrari, it's just another kind of lots of money in the bank here that I don't love too much. Like I could just get rid of Bortoleto, keep Stroll, and then that's just 2 free transfers for me. I'm rolling again into Baku, which feels like a position of strength. I'm using up a lot of my budget, which I like as well after having quite a lot of budget left over. But let me know in the comments below what you guys are thinking. What am I like? Help me out as well, because my brain is a little bit frazzled, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about this lineup, about the 4A kind of combo lineup that I had on the screen a little bit earlier. But yeah, let me know all your thoughts, your concerns, and your lineup questions as well. But like I said, there will be plenty of time for me to answer your questions, for you to help me out with my lineups as well for the rest of the week, as we're in the middle of the doubleheader, but there is no lack of F1 Fantasy content coming your way. And you can always hit me up on X at F1 Fantasy Ewan to kind of go over any lineups if you just want to do it like privately. You can slip into my DMs and I will happily answer them at any time of day or night. All right, so we are at the final part of the episode. If you're still watching, thank you. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And this is going to be the group therapy session for about 2 or 3 minutes here. So I kept most of the episode under 20 minutes. I'm looking at the timer right now. It says about 19 minutes. So, okay. So yes, I went on a hike yesterday morning. I wasn't actually anticipating to watch the Grand Prix, but I was pretty beat after the hike, which was it made me feel a little bit mortal. And we just kind of, my wife and I were just like kind of resting in bed or whatever, watching Homeland. We're watching Homeland right now, binging that. But I was watching the Grand Prix. And when Lewis went out, I was like, that really stings. Not great. But Leclerc was doing okay. The Aston Martin guys were doing all right. So I was in an okay spot. I felt okay. Piastri was leading the race. He had fastest lap. So, like I knew I was going to be down big to these triple McLaren, triple Aston Martin teams, but I felt like there was a little bit of a chance that Ferrari could at least match Aston Martin, and maybe that would help take the sting away. And then chaos ensued. And when Leclerc went out, there was a 4-letter word that came out of my mouth, and I did overreact and threw my phone right into the bed. And my wife came out and was like, that didn't sound good. And I was like, nope, it was not. So I watched it on replay countless amount of times, and I just couldn't believe it had happened. I was like, because it was like, it seemed like the right call. It seemed like everything was working out. Ferrari looked okay. Their race pace, I was like, Hadjar, props to him. I don't think Ferrari were actually going to be able to overtake him, which I did not anticipate. So it was quite painful. I hopped in the shower because I was like, well, we're going to go out to eat, have a couple of drinks. We'll forget all about this, blah, 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 blah. And then I came out of the shower and I was like, my wife said, "Hey, the guy on your phone is yelling again." And I was like, "What is he yelling about?" And then I saw that Lando was out, and I was just like, I couldn't believe the amount of carnage that was coming out of one Grand Prix on the 2025 F1 Fantasy calendar. Lando going out sunk a lot of teams. I mean, I also had McLaren, but I had Piastri. So there were plenty of people, plenty of content creators, plenty of amazing F1 fantasy players that I know that had Lando 2x. Some had them 3x. Shout out to 2024 champ Leapsfrog. T's and P's to you, my friend, having 3x on Lando yesterday. So at the end of the day, like I lost about 1,700 spots for what I figured was a huge disaster for me. And I guess I will just take it and move on. I don't really like, I'm kind of lucky that it is a double header right now, so I can just move on, put that in the past. But man, I think when Leclerc got T-boned by Antonelli, also shout out to Antonelli. Not sure I'm ever going to have you in my F1 fantasy team again. That hurt so much. But like Coda in 2023, when I woke up and Hamilton and Leclerc were disqualified, I feel like that was below what happened yesterday. I think the amount of DNFs that I suffered in Australia at the beginning of the season, that was below it. The Miami DNF debacle was below it as well. Like, I think the seeing Leclerc go into that wall was the single most painful moment I've had in F1 fantasy since I've started playing like the last 4 or 5 years. So let me know in the comments below where it would rank for y'all, or am I overreacting? Was the Coda DSQs really that much better? I know there were a lot of people who suffered double DSQ from Ferrari earlier in China, so I'm in that boat as well. But yeah, just Australia, Miami, and now Zandvoort. That is a pretty painful trio of huge mishaps in F1 Fantasy this season. Also, the fact that no negative just went so poorly for me in Spa, where I think I gained a total of 4 points. So it may just not be my year in F1 Fantasy. That's okay. I'm still going to be here for the next 9 races, talking to you guys about lineups and hoping to claw my way back into the top 10, maybe the top 5K. Let's see if we can play some differential chips and get super wacky with our squads. But yes, that was kind of my group therapy session. Hopefully, if you were also a Ferrari sufferer like myself, your interest in the game is not fading like my t-shirt is in the green screen here. I guess yellow and green don't go too well, so I'll have to remember that for future episodes. But yeah, like I said, drop a comment in the drop a comment below, and we can go over the grief together, because man, that was mighty painful. But I will be back on Thursday with a Q&A stream, Friday final thoughts, Saturday deadline live stream, actually at the deadline this time, 2 hours, and then there's going to be a cool down room episode as well. So hopefully you are liking the video and subscribing to the YouTube channel so you don't miss any F1 fantasy pole position content. So once again, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and I will talk to you next time.